Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Welcome to Zyxel's Tech Talk. My name is Tri Nguyen. I am the product manager and sales manager here at Zyxel North America. I'm glad that you're here. There's a lot of people here. Thank you for being here. Maybe just by a quick show of hands, how many of you are new partners or looking to become a Zyxel partner in the near future? Just a show of hands, just a quick mic check as well. That way you can hear me. Um, okay, thank you. That's great. Everybody can hear me okay? I think it's okay. It looks okay, but I'm glad that you're here. We all survived the great solar apocalypse and we're still here today. I mean eclipse, not apocalypse. No, I'm just kidding. We're gonna have some good times here. We're talking about some of the new updates to our security products, our H series in particular, some of the promos that we have, but we're also running a gift card giveaway to one of the attendees. So please make sure you stay till the end so that we can register your name within the system and our marketing team will do all of that and make an announcement after the end of the webinar to see who has won the $25 gift card from Amazon. So um, again, just as maybe a quick thing, if you haven't been here before, we like to have it be interactive. So if you'd like to ask a question during the presentation, please feel free to use the Q&A section of it. If you have to chat, you can, but it's easier within the Q&A side so that I can follow up with them as we go. If I can't answer them right away, we will get to them at the end if we have some time, but we do have a lot to cover. There's a lot of new functions, features that are coming as well within this H series product. And so I wanted to be able to make sure that you guys are educated as partners and we have on the kind of the right understanding. We're on the same page and where this product is, where it's going, where it's coming, and where it's coming from as well. So a quick introduction of who Zyxel Networks is. 34 plus years now in the networking space, 100 million devices making connections worldwide. We are 700 employees serving 150 different markets within Zyxel Networks, and over a million businesses work smarter with our solutions. We're recognized S&P Global Sustainability company, and so just some of the honors that we have there. We're also trusted to deliver connectivity to millions of customers, lots of different brands that are out there. These are just a small handful of them, but partners like yourself interact with those brands all the time, every day, in order to provide Zyxel solutions to them and for their customers. We're using industry leaders as partners of ours as well to delivering a lot of these services that you find within our products, within our security products, within our cloud base, and also different tools and applications that utilize our products today. We are an award-winning brand internationally. So just a few of the awards that we have recently been awarded to. And we are a channel partner program entity or vendor. So we work through distribution, we work through the channel. So you have channel reps who are there to help you. These are account managers, David, Andy, and Jacob. Service to North America, West, Central, and East, including Canada. So if you see your state here or your province, then feel free to reach out to the appropriate sales rep, sales manager to help you with your account. We're here to serve you for pre-sales, post-sales, distribution questions, pricing questions, deal registrations, tech support, all of that, and be able to utilize a single point of contact for you for our products. And we will leverage that to get you the help that you need. We are solutions driven because of clients like yourself, because we develop our products and solutions and our hardware. We have deep understandings of our product and what your feedback as a partner is invaluable to us. We take your requests seriously, and we're able to integrate a lot of those functionalities, features, or even product direction from your feedback and from what you see in the field. And we provide an end-to-end solution, comprehensive portfolio, security, wireless, switching with PoE, gateway solutions, and network management solutions, including our Nebula Cloud platform. So jumping into our promo that we have coming this Q2, it's just, you might start seeing it already. It was enacted in beginning of April, and it's going to run through the entire Q2. We have brought back our Q2 promo of our buy 2 years of license, of gold license, and get the hardware free. So if you're looking at our USGFLEX line or USGFLEX H series line, and want to get into that and upgrading either your existing firewall of a Zyxel firewall or even a competitor firewall. Your customer is ready to upgrade to a newer platform, or maybe need better security, etc., or higher bandwidth capabilities. This is the time to do it. So the promo is you buy the equivalents to a 2-year license, and we're going to throw in that hardware for free. So it's a 2-year gold license. Now, what we're also doing is through different targets SKUs, specific SKUs there. There's a +2 YG SKU that you'll be able to buy at that lower price. And we're running a 30-day special. So in the month of April, an additional 10% off bonus for the H series. So any of the distributors that you find out there, from DNH, Cynix, Ingram, Target, Wave, they will have these specials. If they don't, then you can also reach out to our sales managers there for your account, and they can help to get that in place, or put out a special a pricing adjustment there for the units that you want to. The only caveat is that you must be Zyxel approved. It's free to join. You'll find out some more information at the end of this webinar on how to do that. But as long as you are a Zyxel approved vendor, a partner of ours, then we will give you this promo. The rebate is there, so it allows for you to also stack with your existing rebates. So whether you're a gold, silver, bronze partner, that allows for you to still get those discounts on top of that 10% as well. So this is something that we want you to be able to offer to your end customer, to be able to offer that 2-year license, get the hardware free, and still be able to make margin on it, rather than just being passed through where you don't get kind of any of that margin. So we're giving you all that margin as if you sold the product still. So it's running through Q2. And we also are going to have a Wi-Fi 7 marketing campaign that's going to be launching as well during this Q2 promo. So about, hitting into the kind of the security side of it, we want to talk about the H series. We want to talk about USGFLEX, but in general, everybody's internet connectivity is going up. It's getting faster. More and more ISPs are providing faster internet speeds. And so now, again, we saw this maybe 5-10 years ago, where the internet connectivity couldn't keep up, or sorry, the firewall couldn't keep up with the speeds that were starting to become available. So now we've kind of hit that other junction, another jump, where people are getting to gigabit type speeds, or maybe 500 plus to gigabit, or even multi-gig now. So maintaining security while having that higher speed is a big concern. So you may have customers who are needing to get to that space and still be able to provide security. And so you're going to be in that kind of that ground where you're going to have to think about upgrading in order to maintain those speeds. And Bitdefender says cybersecurity threats continue to be a challenge. Organizations have to embrace cybersecurity stance to be able to help with protecting those networks, protecting your customers, even protecting yourself against these kinds of threats. IoT security challenges that are out there, or even ransomware as a service, is a big threat as well. So how do we deal with these? There's also challenges that are there in the kind of even today, right? I mean, even more today, limited budget. Everybody's facing that today. Nobody wants to spend the money to get the protection that they need in order to also fulfill the speeds that they are currently subscribed to as well. You have legacy infrastructure that can't support the speed, lack of tools to even prevent that security, cybersecurity attacks. You're dealing with compliance and regulation rules that are getting enacted, or people are starting to become liable for a non-compliance. There's a lot of cybersecurity tools that are out there. So trying to figure out which ones do I use? How do I use them as a MSP, or even as an IT manager, or even as an end user? It's pretty much a daunting task for them. Or providing, within supply chain, like getting the right equipment available if you're doing larger deployments. That's always a challenge as well. Then there's human factors, unsafe employee behavior. How many of us are going through cybersecurity trainings? I have one that's scheduled already for me that I have to go through in my queue from our IT folks who want to make sure that we are educated and don't fall into those pitfalls and those traps that could put security threats inside the network. So unsafe behavior, human error because we've accidentally clicked on a link. How many of us have done that? Shortage of cybersecurity staff, or people who even understand cybersecurity to a level that can be protecting of that. So it really falls down to a lot of our MSPs, partners like yourself, to become educated and to have the tools and have the equipment that's there to facilitate that cybersecurity prevention measures that you can provide to your customers. And then today, everybody has some sort of remote workforce, whether you're multi around the country, you have employees around the country, or even that work from home applications for the last few years. People are working remote. How do you control? How do you policy that to help mitigate threats that are coming through? So I won't go through too many of these little details, but just know that there are a lot of security issues that are out there, and there's a lot of solutions that can be there, and people are spending money or will need to spend money in order to get themselves up to speed. Pun taken, or pun intended, to get their security stance up to a level that can protect everybody and still maintain those speeds. So automation, how to do it easily, quickly, how to manage multiple locations, policies that can stretch across multiple locations or applications and still go into those remote threat customers or your employees. So we have a lot of security updates that are here. So that's what we're here to make sure you are educated on the security space side. Some of the things, maybe some housekeeping things that Zyxel has in the near future, you as a partner should know about. The ATP series, we had already started in the US, kind of pulling out of the ATP because our USGFLEXs had the same capacity with the Gold Series license to be able to operate the same functionality, same performance as the ATP series. So we felt, in the US that we were going to slowly migrate away from it. So you started seeing some of the stock there. We dwindled. So we're out of everything except for usually the ATP 100s and the ATP 800s. That's our highest end. We'll still maintain our ATP 800s for a while or as long as we can, because it has the higher performance speeds there with full UTM and sandboxing. But the ATP series are becoming end of sale worldwide in September of 2024. So in a few more months, but the licenses will still be carrying the licenses. The security features will still be enabled for the next 5 years after that October. So October 2029 is when we expect, if we can carry it for longer, we will still carry it longer, but this is our commitment, the minimum commitment that to 2029, the ATP series licenses, that will be kind of the end of our commitment. But as you can see through our legacy USGs, we still carry the legacy USG licenses for AV and content filtering. So if customers are still wanting to use that, they can still do that. But we do suggest that probably in 5 years, the technology and the cyber threats have probably changed. AI will probably be a bigger piece within this, or even within the cloud type applications and cloud firewalls that you may be upgrading anyways in order to meet those demands and to meet those security requirements. So 5 years, I think, is it covers our lifetime warranty, kind of for the hardware as well. That we cover that. The SCR 50 AXE, that series is going to get rebranded at some point. We're going to be calling it the USG Lite. We like USG because that's our unified security gateway kind of brand name that we've been using for a long time now. And so we wanted to kind of differentiate that it's still a security appliance, but it's a light version. So it has a light segment that it can include free security licenses, can be upgraded to a little bit more advanced security with content filtering and manageable content categorizations and things like that. But it's made for easy security. We think that even in those small offices, rather than just picking up a SPI firewall off the shelf somewhere, you can get something like this at that same price point and be able to provide still free security that can do ransomware blocking and kind of a DNS threat blocking and IP reputation type functionalities there. So we are also going to be launching a USG Lite 60AX in May or June timeframe. It's still kind of up in the air. It's currently in beta right now, but it's going to be great for the retail, small office, or home office environments that need just an integrated Wi-Fi with VPN capability and being able to provide security. So the H series also has some feature enhancements coming April, actually April 20, I believe it's 23rd. So in about 2 weeks, there's going to be some interesting features that I'm going to be covering today to, again, help you to understand the differences of what it is today and what it will be in 2 weeks, and then what it will be ultimately in October. People have always, number one question I get asked about the H series is, when is it going to be available in Nebula? And in fact, I'm going around and letting people know that this is kind of the new, I guess, paradigm shift that we have within our firewall system, and that it's based on this new OS. And I'm going to talk about that new OS, the UOS that is built in from the ground up for the USGFLEX H series. And the beauty of it is that going to be is that there is no longer going to be a standalone mode and a cloud mode. It's going to be the mode. So whether you're managing it by the GUI as you would log into directly into the box, or managing it and configuring it within the cloud, it's going to be the same exact product. It's going to be the same exact configuration. No differences between the two. So it's just, you choose how you want to manage it. You want to manage it by logging into the device or logging it into the cloud. That's fine. It will still be the same product. So all the features that are available within the device itself is available. There's no longer going to be that discrepancy between feature sets and what's available in the cloud and standalone like we currently have on our USG Flex. I hope that makes sense. But ultimately, in October, we will have the entire interface that's currently on the USG Flex H's mapped into the cloud. Right now, there is basically a SSH tunnel that is built within the Nebula side. So if you want to still manage it, you could still get a lot of the information from the Nebula side. But in order to configure it, you click on a link, it actually drills in and takes you to the interface of the device, which again, it's going to be the same, that configuration is still backed up to the cloud. It's still configured, and you configure it through an interface that looks like Nebula. So really your experience is going to be the same, whether it's going to be you drilling into the device via SSH that way to the GUI or managing it in the cloud. It's going to be the same thing ultimately. But ultimately, it's going to be within the in October release, we'll have that interface mapped to the cloud. So it's just going to be a direct map. Will currently devices be upgradable to the UOS? No, unfortunately, the current USG Flexes will not be upgraded to the new UOS. So moving forward, it's going to be based on the H series altogether. So there's going to be that time frame as we transition at some point, and the new UOS is going to take over for all the new future products that we have released, in the coming years. The beauty of it too, and kind of the ultimate goal, is that with a configuration like that, that's universal, it's going to be able to allow for us to upgrade customers. Let's say today they're using a USG Flex 100H, and maybe tomorrow they have a better internet connectivity and they want to upgrade to the 500H. You could be able to transition them to the 500H without having to kind of redo your configurations all over again. So that's kind of the beauty of this universal configuration that's going to happen as well. And upgrading between models or it won't matter anymore from that standpoint. So that's kind of the benefits of it in general from a USG Flex H series. Also, a lot of updates coming here. Starting April 30th, the plan is to have all of the existing USG Flex bundled. So the products that you buy today that have the BUN model or the bundled, it includes 1 year UTM built into the device or included within it. We are going to plan it to have, or it's going to automatically be, when you register it, give you the gold licensing and no longer, without any additional charges. So whatever the price is today, that's going to now start enacting as gold starting April 30th. And the plan also is to launch what we call an essential pack, and I'll cover in the next slide, for the non-bundled H series. So the ones that were hardware only H series that had no UTM licenses tied to it, those will come with an essential pack. So we figure, or we want that, since security is very important, we want them to at least have some security. There's no point in having a hardware only type device with no security on it in today's day and age. So we feel like that's something that's going to be very important to provide for that. But that's happening in the H series. Now, the USG Flex series, the non-bundled, you can still buy that if you wish with hardware only on that side. The H series bundled already come with gold license. So you don't have to worry about that. So the H series bundles already come with a 1 year gold license. So now it kind of puts everything on the same line. You get the full UTM, full sandboxing, full DNS IP reputation, all as a benefit. Now I'll tell you a little secret just for partners like yourself today. Um, if you do upgrade it a little sooner, like April 15th or so, it'll probably still give you the gold package. So our official launch is April 30th, but a few days before then, maybe even 2 weeks before then, you'll still be able to get the gold. So that way it will help with your, if you're planning out your partners and things like that, or maybe your partners want to wait till around April 15th or 20th, or can wait till then before they install this, then they can get benefit from that new gold package. You don't have to rework any inventory. So if you already have some in stock today, if you haven't registered it yet, you haven't put it live into a customer, between April 15th and April 30th, when you do register it, it will give you gold license. So there's nothing for you to do in that regard. And then in case somebody bought something in, let's say, March or early April, and they didn't install until after the 30th, what license will be loaded? It will be gold security packages then. What will become of the bundles in stock, like let's say at our distribution and all that, again, it's the same thing. As long as it's not registered yet and that time frame has passed somewhere between the 15th and 30th, it's going to be automatically gold when they register on my Zyxel. And yes, this will also apply to the Nebula side as well. So whether you're using on-prem or on cloud, it's going to do that. Now, except for the USGFLEX 50, it doesn't support gold, so it doesn't have the gold pack available to it. Joe says, is the product matrix comparing USGFLEX versus Flex H versus USG Lite? Yes, there is. So I do have a slide on here that does also do that. Maybe not from a spec perspective. You can always compare the data sheet side, but from a feature perspective, I have that coming up. So the essential pack is, our goal is to keeping networks safe at a lower cost. So even at a very minimal cost, or even no cost. I think in this particular one, the essential pack is at a $50 per year license. So it incorporates DNS threat filtering, URL filtering, IP reputation, against even IP protocols, even HTTPS. The DNS security is there for blocking DNS. A new Nebula dynamic DNS service is going to be there as well. So it allows for you to just streamline how you manage remote access to that type of device if you needed it, with a lot of cybersecurity monitor and log retention that's available as well to see the top attacks and to record those details if you need to. So again, just information from a security perspective on how to deal with those kinds of threats. And why did we call it USG Lite? For those USG Lite products that we're launching, which is like our SCRs, we want to leverage that USG known gateway as a firewall brand, and also to imply security, because we've been known as a USG product for security. And we want to say it's light because it's easy, simple, it's easy to install, and the configurations of the security is simple. It's just kind of like turn on and off. And also to then have these two lines. So it kind of consolidates a USG Flex line, which is our business class, and then USG Lite, which is for, home offices and prosumers and those kinds of applications there, and offer a subscription-free security option. And it leverages the same security functionalities from a DNS and IP reputation that you would find in the USG Flexes, but leveraging that technology within this as a no cost to them. Since we're leveraging that technology already in our higher end models. So diving into the USGFLEX H, I know I've just been mentioning that, but I don't, how many of you have heard of the USGFLEX H, maybe by show of hands? Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Todd. A lot of you, great. So that's great. The message is getting out there. So again, I wanted to make sure that we are on the same page with what the USGFLEX H series is intended for. It's for secure, fast protection. And if you are in need of kind of higher speed technology, so our multi-core hardware facilitates that. It offers multi-gig capabilities up to 10 gig with PoE Plus built into the hardware options as well. So there's integrated things like that. But ultimately, it's about speed. You want to maintain security and also provide high speed internet connectivity as well. So people who are buying the gigabit or 2.5 gig from their ISPs, or have 10 gig uplinks or 10 gig networks within the local side that you want to connect to and have some firewall ruling and protection before it goes out to the internet onto that 1 gig or 2.5 gig connection. Most of us probably aren't dealing with a 10 gig connection right now. So 1 gig is probably up there. Some of you may have higher speeds, but that's probably going to be the mainstream, and that's what we're really focused on, being able to deliver leading edge encryption technologies with IPsec, SSL, VPN. We want to kind of step away from that L2TP side of things. We want to make sure that things are secure. So the securest way is always IPsec, and it's going to give you the best performance. And in some kind of outlying cases, it's convenient to use SSL VPN, but it shouldn't be your main kind of go-to because it's not as efficient. Depending on the computer you're using, and the encryption through the browser is not as efficient as it can be with IPsec, which also offers you a much higher throughput capability as well and control over things. One thing to note, we did launch our new Secu extender licensing. It's a software and license for a single license for a single user, but it can be used in multiple platforms. So it's universal, whether you're using for Windows or for Mac OS. We can utilize this same kind of software and license. Now, you may have a Windows machine and then you might have a Mac machine. You can transfer that over to either or and use them, but only one concurrently. Or I think there's a limit on the device. I'm not sure if it's one or if it's two or something like that. SSL for US models the SSL client within this extender will only work with the H series. If you have an existing USGFLEX, you can still use our existing Secu extender type products for SSL for Mac and for Windows to utilize the SSL side. But again, we want you to migrate to the IPsec side of the business. Will there be options for two-factor providers beyond ClickSend and Google? Daniel asks. At the moment, unless you have something specific, Daniel, feel free to send me a message. I can always ask our R&D to see, if they have anything, or maybe from their requests, to see what other two-factor authentication providers are going to be available. But we do support the Google side of it. So it does fulfill a lot of businesses that are out there today. But if you do have something that is, that might be interesting for us, we can always consider that. So we also have all of our H series and even our USGFLEXes. We utilize a lot of our partners. So this just gives you a snapshot of some of the technologies and who we use for sandboxing, web filtering, a lot of names that you probably recognize, as well as some that you may not recognize that are behind the scenes, like someone like a QoS MOS type that does the application patrol. But of course, you've heard of WebRoot, Bitdefender, Norton, et cetera, that provide a lot of the other services. But we depend on them to provide these kinds of expertise for the security services that go into our product. Daniel asks or says, most customers are Microsoft centric and use OKTA and Duo security. So again, I think if you do see that as a mass market type authentication, feel free. We do, even within our devices, the two-factor can also be email based as well. So it can help to send through email that you can approve through a link. That can be another step with that. But we can always see. Does the H series manage APs yet? And the answer is it will, yes. It does. From a controller standpoint, it has the secure Wi-Fi feature that's launching is in April. We'll have that support. So yes, you'll be able to manage those APs. So a lot of the features that are here that you're used to already, malware, antivirus, web filtering, IPS, application patrol. It's all about providing all of these services: security, sandboxing, reputation filtering, secure Wi-Fi functionalities, all of that, being able to do that at a very high speed. And our products are powered by AI, just like a lot of things today, powered by cloud cybersecurity. that leverages AI technologies and intelligence to communicate and to do user sandboxing to provide zero-day type threats for anti-malware, IP reputation, and application patrols on your types of devices to give you control over that. Let's see. Anish says, will the controller-based operational AP be a competitive offering against Ruckus Aruba controller-based AP mesh solutions? I would say it's going to be more simplistic. It's going to have tunneling mode type of functionalities. It's going to have secure Wi-Fi functions. So you can drop in a access point in a remote office and it can L2 tunnel back through the internet back to that firewall to make a secure extension of that office if you want. So there's those kinds of applications. So I don't know how, which areas of competitive offerings that are there against the those competitors that you're talking about. But what we know for sure is everybody has moved to a cloud, kind of a cloud controller side. So that's where I think your main benefit's going to find its way. We can still do that, competitive side for the local controller, but you're going to find a lot more benefits in the cloud-based Nebula controller, which you can get for you can still use for free as well. So from a security standpoint, I get a lot of questions on, how does Zyxel deal with security, or how is Zyxel secure? And so one of the things that we've been honored with is becoming a CVE numbering authority. We're a CNA authorization. We basically have to report and work with people to report any kind of system bugs or vulnerabilities that are there or discovered, and it should be able to provide fixes and kind of a path of migration for any of that. And so Zyxel is actually one of the first in the SMB market to receive authorization from the CVE, and is recognized at the provider acceptance level for NIST in their vulnerability database there. So we're the only networking company in the world with provider acceptance level for both CVSS version 3.1 and CWE. So that's a pretty big deal for us. Just again, we want to make sure that you are informed when things are found. Ultimately, every vendor has something, and as technology moves and changes, there's always going to be something that is there potentially. And it's a matter of how do we deal with it? How do we react to it? How do we inform? How do we commit to fixing those kinds of things? And this is part of it. In order to become or to be part of this, you have to commit to that level of security line. The product also provides that central management option. Right now, the H series has that SSL tunnel mode. SSH tunnel mode. So it gets you to the device GUI through Nebula, through a Nebula secured connection. You can monitor the device, the on and off status. You can do firmware upgrades through Nebula. You can manage firewall licenses as well through Nebula. You could back up, restore configurations through Nebula. But to configure it is basically you click on a link that says configure the device, and it takes you to that IP address of that device that logs you in through that SSH. So it's a secure tunnel. You don't have to open up any other special rules for that. And we can tunnel through using Nebula to get to that device. And that allows for you to manage it. Now, of course, in October, that interface that you see within the device GUI today is going to be just mapped to Nebula side. So again, when people ask, when is it going to be supported in Nebula? It's never like you currently think. Like it's not being configured only in Nebula anymore. So again, just trying to fix kind of that mindset and trying to reposition ourselves back within the firewall system that just like our APs, you configure the device, and whether you do it within the cloud or you do it on the device itself, it's going to be the same configuration. And because it's using our newest OS, their UOS, it introduces that operating system that's going to be what we're going to use moving forward, and allows for configuration changes that are instant. They're optimized. The security policy management now is going to be a lot easier throughout the products. It's going to be more universalized within that and give you a better UI experience. So we do have a webinar that does kind of cover some of that UI differences there. Things like you can create favorites within certain types of feature functions that you use a lot, or using the AI or using the search capabilities. So you can just find, where do I configure, port rules, or, content filtering services. You can just search for that and it can just take you there. So rather than you having to dig through and drill into a lot of the menu systems there, it can get you there a lot quicker. Let's say Joe asks, will the US have similar MSP level config that Nebula has? So it will be basically the same MSP level config that Nebula currently has, because it's going to be part of the Nebula infrastructure. Our goal is to get kind of the feature set functionalities to be what you find today in the USG Flexes. Right now, there is a discrepancy. We wanted to launch a product that was able to meet those multi-gig demands, still maintaining a high level of security, but maybe not all of the kind of the feature functionalities that you may use in an off case, is not there at the moment. But our plan is to put that in, and that's why I'm going to share with you the roadmap, kind of the release plan that's coming out, what's coming in October and April, what we have coming in 2 weeks, and then what we're planning in, April, October of this year, and in April of next year. So this is kind of just an idea. So we're going to focus, because a lot of, maybe I would say, a lot of the so my mistake, secure Wi-Fi, I think they tried to pull it in. I have to double check if they were able to pull it into the April timeframe. If not, it was planned for the October release for secure Wi-Fi. So that's when the controller based firewall controller function would be available, is in the 1.30 in October. But this month, IP reputation filter exporting an external blacklist, support for an external Active Directory for VPN remote access, bandwidth management as a shared bandwidth control, adding session control so you can limit users. There's an Astra Device Insights addition that we've added within the device as well. Egress and ingress bandwidth control. And you don't have to worry about the next business day support license. That's something that we use in other countries. But then some other features that are going to come out later in October, things like captive portal, 802.1x authentication on the device. You could still do it within the APs itself. Auto VPN capabilities for configuration, high availability pro functions, security profile syncs, fully qualified domain objects, web control, email alerting for different types of logs, better traffic statistics, and then support for a la carte licensing. So if you bought the hardware only with essentials and just wanting to buy, like, a couple of the licenses, more a la carte functions that are there. So as long as you're not required, or if you can give up, I would say, or delay the need for some of these features that are coming out in October and next year, or maybe you don't even know what these features are and you don't even use it today, then you can get benefit from the faster speeds that are available within the USGFLEX H series today. Let's see, Amish has another question. Once the USGFLEX H series firmwares are on the market, when will the conventionals become end of service? So that's not currently announced yet. There probably will be at some point, I would say, in the future, that we will have some sort of kind of last availability or last buy for the device, but we still see it being carried because there's still that market today that they don't need that kind of that extra cost, because they don't have that extra speed that they need that full security for. So there's still going to be a lag time. I don't know exactly what that lag time will be, but probably something, I would say, in the next year or two. The product itself, the USG Flexes, have been around now, I think, for about 4 years. So usual life cycles of them tend to be, 6 years, I would say, for a business class type product. Sometimes sooner when you have a kind of technology jump. But I think there's going to be options for you to still be available. But again, we'll still be committed to, the security services that are available, as long as our partners and vendors don't take it away from us, I guess, or they don't go out of business for some reason. Then we would provide it as long as we possibly can. Wes did ask, USG 700H allow P13 and 14 to be grouped with other ports or in bridge net. That's maybe a little bit more specific, Wes, if you send me a message on that, I can check with our R&D on when that kind of things are going to be available. But I know like in April of next year, they're adding kind of that link aggregation support. So being able to do things like that to group them together is probably going to be part of that lag, is probably what they're going to tell me. Can we say that they'll be in the market for another 5 or 7 years for now? At least 5 years, I would say, from a security license standpoint. I can't guarantee that the hardware will be available in 5 or 7 years, but at least the security licenses, what you kind of deploy today or maybe this year, that it will probably last at least another 5 years. And so there's always that kind of that straddle jump. Do I jump to the H series now, or do I stay with the USG Flex because of cost? It's kind of up to what you think the market is like. We still have customers today who use the USGs, not even the USG Flexes. So they've been end of life for like 4 years now. So they're still using those today. So it depends on your customer, I would say. Are there any SFP ports on the USG H Flex series firewall? If not, is there any specific reason behind? And the answer is yes, there is SFP ports on the higher end models today. Mostly because most ISPs are not terminating directly to the SFP. We found that we did have those units available, but they were not really used or taken up on. And so it was just there. So because people either had a terminating, 10 gig switch that was providing their DMARC, and it was always some sort of 10 gig Ethernet or multi-gig Ethernet anyway. So we figured the more important piece was to offer 2.5 gig, and then on our 700Hs to have the 10 gig capable ports to facilitate that. So again, so we don't get bogged down to so much on this, but there are some enhancements in this new version 1.2, bunch of different things that are there. I won't cover all of these that I'm listing here. That's kind of part of one of our trainings that we have within the company, but I wanted to pull out some of the highlighted pieces that are specific within that 1.2 that you saw on that previous slide that had the kind of the committed for April releases. So that external block list, this allows for you to host a text file external web server somewhere. The firewall can import that information. It's basically if you had some customized blocks. And so you can auto update without configuration change on the firewall as well. So you can create these profiles for IP reputation, DNS URL, and a maximum size of each profile. So you can have 4 profiles. Each profile can be up to 3 megabytes. The maximum number of entries is 50,000. So it really gives you a big list versus just entering it into the device. Now, the beauty of it is, let's say you have a multi customer, multiple site, multiple offices, and you have, let's say, these are only these 100 websites you want to be allowed or blocked, or these are additional blocks that you want to have, within the company security profile. You can host that, and any one of those sites can get updated with that new information and be able to utilize that to block those threats. I do have to ask, though, if the same external block list could be an external allow list. That could be useful as well. So I will check with that. Just thinking about it right now, because that could be where you can enter in the only these top, or only these 50,000 IPs, or this 50,000 web addresses can be accessed. So I know a lot of projects that we've worked on, especially in like a car dealership, they will only lock it down and say, you guys can only, you people, I wouldn't say you guys, but you all can only go to these web pages through our Wi-Fi. So that way it kind of controls, that kind of the usability and the productivity or whatnot there. So that could be probably a useful application. Also, remote access, being able to use authentication now for IPsec and SSL for the local device, so local hardware, using a Radius server. We've added now the Active Directory server, and then also LDAP for the SSL VPN, but not for IPsec. It's just because IPsec doesn't support those, like that protocol. And IPsec remote access, the Active Directory, some of the authentication steps, you just add the domain forwarder, you set up the Active Directory server or the Radius server for the authentication for the Active Directory. You join the firewall to that Active Directory, and now you can use those for that. The other feature that we're adding is bandwidth management. So you can help to prioritize bandwidth usage control through a shared type at the moment. You saw probably, or maybe you noticed next year, April, so a year from now, we're going to be able to add bandwidth management down to kind of the IP and MAC level. Some of these things, if we can find resources, we'll pull in. We'll try to pull in. If you do have immediate demand, you have customers who are like, no, I have to. This is the way I do it. This is the only way I do it, and I can't choose any other way to do it. Please let us know, because it helps us to then push our R&D and to help prioritize some of that. I know we're talking about prioritization and bandwidth management here, but it helps within our R&D side to, from our partner feedbacks, to be able to push things to get done quicker or put on a higher priority so they can potentially be moved up into the process there. So you just have to enable bandwidth settings. So for example, if you want to say, hey, any service clients on LAN 1, their download, you can manage their upload and download limits if you want there. You can enable that. So then every client that's there is kind of subject to that limitation if you wanted to control it that way. You also control session as well. So you can configure the maximum number of sessions per IP source address. So it prevents people who are maybe using some sort of BitTorrent, or they've been compromised by a virus or something like that that's trying to eat up a lot of the sessions. We can minimize that, or we can mitigate that. So you can set a threshold. By default, it's set at 1,000 sessions. So you want to look at your devices. A lot of the higher end, like H series models, they have hundreds of thousands of sessions, and they're gauged for or recommended for 50 to 100 users. So there's probably plenty of sessions that are there, but you never know. So you want to be able to control that and not cause an issue by having somebody eat up all the sessions that are available in your product, or maybe it's part of a denial of service attack, from inside. So being able to control that today. You also get device insight now if you use our Astra product. That is an endpoint security solution for PC, Windows, Mac, and also for your iOS and Android devices. So it integrates with that endpoint solution. It provides more information, results on, and gives that to the firewall. And there's some more enhancement information that is integrated within our SecuReporter for our security reporting software. And it just collects the packets, it sends it to the cloud servers to query the results, et cetera, to give you information on that. So it gives you that device client, who it is, or maybe what the type of traffic it's going there in order to make some appropriate kind of judgment calls there. We have also enhanced our WAN load balancing, because a lot of our products have load balancing. I don't know if some of you knew that, but it will do multi-WAN. Multiple internet connections can be load balanced and failed over as well. So we already had the weighted round robin side. We just added now in 1.20 the spillover. So if you have, you can fill up one WAN, and if the WAN on the next session, when it's full, it will go over to the second WAN that is not full. So that's what spillover is. Least load first. It will calculate based on the WAN's consumption, or what current load that's there, and it will send the session through the internet connection that has the least load. So it has the least traffic going through it. So again, it helps to load balance how it goes. DNS failover. We have for a dynamic DNS that you can enact. We also integrated a dynamic DNS service within our Nebula side as well. But in 1.20, we've integrated the kind of the ping interface check to help with the DNS failover, to be able to update the new IP address on a failover scenario. So if you move over to a new IP because you failed over to a new WAN, we can then be able to check that and then be able to update to the next, whatever the next public or the other public IP is. For DHCP relay, the upstream interface is used to specify the interface for forwarding to the DHCP server. So before, there was a limitation where it can only route the DHCP server that was directly connected to the interface, but now we can do it to an upstream device server that's maybe not part of that IP space. I know I'm covering some technical people, but I know I have some technical folks here. And I wanted to cover again, some of these things that you may not see or may not even knew the feature existed. So that at least this gives you some exposure on that as well. The NTP server, you can use the firewall itself as an NTP server if you want to synchronize that without having to go to an external NTP server to synchronize those clocks and servers and client devices there. And also we've added the ability to now make a custom MAC, or instead of using the default MAC, a lot of routers have this function today. But being able to overwrite the default MAC address that this firewall is operating on to communicate to the next device. This may happen in a scenario where you have maybe a cable modem that only is allowed or locked down to a certain MAC address to communicate on, or maybe some sort of MAC filtering that you needed to, you had to enact, and you want the firewall to be there in that place. Then you can then use that to overwrite the MAC there on that interface. The user authentication methods now that we offer is not only the local database, the radius, but now an external user using Active Directory or LDAP. And then with two-factor authentication with Google, you can use that. You're using that originally right now for admin access to the device, but now it can also be used within the VPN access for SSL and IPsec. Greg says, thanks for touching some of the technical. Yeah, we usually don't dive into the technical side of things. But yeah, this I know is going to be helpful for some of you. So you're welcome. There's some added security for self-protection that we've enabled within the devices by default as well. So the firewall rule, the IKE port, the UDP 500 is now disabled by default. So if there are no VPN rules, maybe some of you have deployed these firewalls and have never even used or even configured a VPN rule. So if there's no rules or none that are active, the service will automatically be stopped if it happens to be on for some reason. And the UDP port 500 is not in use. That way you can't get maybe denial of service attacked some way, or people trying to see if you exist by that port, even if you're in stealth mode elsewhere. Or when you add it, or if you add or activate a VPN rule, the firewall port will start on this port. So it will enable itself. So that's the kind of the behavior that it should be. If you're not using it, it should be off. And when you do decide to use it, then it will turn itself on. Assuming we can use Microsoft Authenticator as well. I will have to check, Jared. I'm not sure if we have Microsoft Authenticator like configured for it. I have to double check. Maybe unless it's using one of those other protocols like Active Directory or something like that to behave with it, then maybe. But I'd have to check with our engineer. Joe says, is WAN failover programmable to handle different speed WAN connections when load balancing? Yes. So you can have a gigabit WAN as your primary, and you can have a backup 200 meg connection on the backup if you needed to. And even if it's load balancing, again, it's still the least load. You'd probably at that point do some sort of weighted round robin or spill over. Again, if you wanted to do, you'd have to kind of mess around with that. Because I guess least load first, it would be, it's still a percentage of load. So, 50% of 200 megs is going to be 100 megs. So that's going to be 50% at only 100 megs versus a gigabit, right? It's going to be kind of a different least load kind of calculation there. So you just have to find the one that probably works best with you, or it can be an active passive. So you can, everything's on the primary. When something does fail over or falls apart, then you can, fall over or fail over to the LTE connection if you need to. And again, they don't need to be the same. Whoops, I hit the down scroll too fast. Well, will there be an option to override DHCP DNS servers from the internet service provider? I don't know if you can ever override the DHCP from DNS servers from the internet. I don't know how. I'm not sure about that one, Joe, or what you're asking, or Joseph. So feel free to send me an email on what you mean exactly. I could see like the DNS, the DHCP is what's throwing me off. Overriding, maybe you mean overriding the DNS servers from the service providers. And the answer is yes. You can just utilize, you can configure your interface to deliver your DHCP to your clients using any DNS server you want. So you can put Google's DNSs in there if you want, and that's what will be received within the DHCP of the client devices behind the firewall. So you can use the default one or you can override it in that regard. Maybe that's what you're asking. There's still a standard failover on dual WAN though, right? Yes, there is, Greg. You can still do a basic failover from just one to the other, active passive. Sunny's also asking, will the session be offered on Zyxel's site? If not, can you let me know? You can get these slides in the presentation. And Sunny, yeah, we always have ours recorded. So you'll find it either on Facebook or on YouTube. And within our website too, you can always, in our webinar section, you can click on past webinars and it will link to all of our previous recordings and including this one, which will probably be available probably about a couple hours after the end of the session. All right, so we're disabling those ports. Also, the USG, just so you know, the USGFLEX 700H, the PoE port is disabled by default. This is because we kind of ran into this issue where it was on, even if people weren't using it, and if you plugged in a certain type of switch, there was some grounding type functionality that caused it not to work right. So we have it defaulted as disabled until you actually go into the device and say, okay, I want to use it now. I'm going to enable it. So then it's going to be enabled after that fact. So you just have to go and change it. It's something that we just change the behavior of that feature or that function. So the H series is ultra high performance, enhanced UTM functions, just like the ATPs, with sandboxing DNS reputation at those high speeds, being able to manage in the cloud. It's going to be Nebula controlled GUI in October. Right now, it's basically Nebula tunneled into the device's configuration. Again, mindset, it's going to be the same configuration now, whether you're going to be in the standalone or in the cloud. It's still that one config. So that's going to be the beauty of this new OS. Anisha asks also, is there any specific on any USP, maybe it's USG, with respect to the application security load balancing aspect of the H? Vis-a-vis the competitors, I'll have to check. Send me an email as well, Anish, and so any kind of what you mean is specifically from that aspect and what you're looking for from that comparison from the competitors. And maybe I can answer that, or I can have our engineer answer that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Multi-gig options. So some of the models like the USGFLEX 200H and above start giving you multi-gig ports with PoE. The HP models in the 200, the 100 have an HP version that gives you that PoE, integrated PoE. The 500H and the 700H, you'll see the ports are already yellow. So you already get the PoE options that are there. So you don't have to get an HP version of those models. So again, you need more speed. You need high security still with the same ATP type security levels of UTM is the H series. If you can give up high availability hardware, if you can give up some of the bandwidth management controls for now. So ultimately it'll be there. But again, if you're like need the speed today and without sacrificing security to satisfy that customer need today, then the H series is where you want to be. And that's what I currently have here at my house as well. So it's been working for me. So it's been great for me, but I only have a 350 meg cable modem connection anyway. So it doesn't really make a big difference, but I know that it's there. The capacity is there. It does help though with my tests on my Wi-Fi 7 with a multi-gig and 10 gig uplinks there for 6E or 6 gigahertz range. So it works beautifully for that. So this is just kind of a side-by-side comparison. You haven't seen yet the USGFLEX H series, 50H, sorry, the 50H So we're going to be expanding into that Soho market with the H's as well. You can see that's going to be coming soon this year or a little bit later this year on the 50 H's and the HPs. But the 100, 200, 500, and 700s are all there. The 700 boasts up to 4 gigs of UTM throughput firewall. I would gauge that at 60%, so anywhere between a 2.5 to 3 gig internet connection or overall throughput is probably where you want to utilize that space. I usually take the um, I usually take the throughput numbers and take it at 50 to 60% of that to figure out what is my real life, performance like when I'm doing multiple different types of packet sizes, etc. So keep that in mind. You're not going to get 4 gigs. That's if you transferred everything at multiple sessions with the largest possible packet sizes, in the industry. So that's kind of its max throughput, which again, your real life is going to be 50 to 60% of that number to be safe. It'll probably be more than that, but you never know. It's just you better to be safe within that threshold as well. Anishka asks, can the USGFLEX H be utilized for OT security applications? What shall be the limitations? What do you mean by OT security? I don't, it doesn't come off the top of my head. Like what? Like over the top? Is it over the top? Um, I'll just move on to Doug. Nice to have PoE entry level for home office users for Wi-Fi. Yep. So that's where the 50H and HP will be. It's going to be that entry level with PoE on the device. Rodell asks, other than pricing differences, should we start providing H series to our customers rather than Flex? Is there anything that would benefit the client with the USG Flex that's not on the H series? So I will cover the next slide. Actually, will cover that, Rodell, on the differences between it. So then you can make the decision on what is actually needed by the customer. So again, the H series is going to be great and it will be fully capacity, like within the next 6 to 9 months or 10 months. But before then, there are some, again, some compromises that we have to make in order to get this to market and be able to provide the services that we have today. So if you're not using those, which we know a lot of customers don't use some of those features, then the H series is probably your longevity better bet. Operational technology. Okay, so let me see. For operational technologies or security applications, I mean, it can be for sure 100%. It could be used for those kinds of for those applications. Maybe I don't know what kind of limitations. If any of the competitors that are out there today that have a UTM firewall can meet those kinds of security, all of our products, all of these security products will also fulfill that as well. Maybe when you get to, I would say, if you're needing like FIPS compliancy or kind of NIST applications, things like that, where they have to be certified for government use, then these ones are not yet certified for that. We are going after that, but it's going to take some time. Absolutely. You're welcome. Okay. So this is kind of the comparison between the Flex 50, um, the existing Flexes from a feature. I would say basic feature. I mean, kind of the high level. There's a lot more features that are there, but these are probably the main things that you're worried about. Um, from the H series, what's currently missing right now is the 2-factor login for VPN, which is coming this month. So that's going to be filled in. Security profile sync is going to be also available this month as well. Secure Wi-Fi is probably going to be more in that October timeframe. So if you're using secure Wi-Fi or if you're using a remote AP or AP controller type functions that are there. But otherwise, if you have gold package, if you want to use gold flex, you're going to get that IP reputation, sandboxing, DNS reputation filtering as well within the H series. So those are kind of the two main things. This is kind of another view of that, of some other features within the USG Flex with the SCRs within play. So the H series is not on this particular thing, but you can kind of see the comparison still from some of these other feature functions that are there for the Flex SCRs. So that's how our portfolio is going to look for the small office, home office, the USG Lite series, USG Flex 50 series for simplicity, USG Flex for flexibility, and the Ultimate series is going to be our ATPs or the USG Flex H models here. So I know we've gone quite over now on the time. It's 12:05, and I apologize for that. There was a lot of questions, which is great, and I'd love to be able to inform you. Let me see if there's any other slides. I'm going to just flip through these real quick. These are just some of the applications, small offices. You guys already know how to use that in an office space, connecting offices using VPN. And then this is just a preview, sneak preview of our USG Flex, USG Lite 60AX. It's going to be meshable in that. So subscription free, network security in a single device. It does not have AX, but it's going to be Wi-Fi AX. It doesn't have 6E, but it's going to be Wi-Fi AX 6000 with multi-gig, Nebula controlled and meshable. So if you're not a partner, if you want to join our partner program, these are the information that you would need to know. It's free to join. We work through D&H, Ingram, Synnex, Wave, Target, Pace, and we're working on a couple of others as well this year. But you can find our products in the channel. If you don't have these discounts loaded within the channel, you're not getting your discounts as a partner, please reach out to us so that we can get and check that out. If you want to connect with us on LinkedIn, Zyxel-US-channel, or you can connect with me. You can just search for Zyxel TRI, and you can find me to connect as well, or you can find YouTube videos like this one on Zyxel America channel. Since we did answer questions in line, if you do have any other questions, please reach out to me. You can send them directly to me at tri@zyxel.com. Doug did have one last question. Does the SCR 60AX have content filtering? The answer is yes. It's just like the SCR 50AXE. It will have a baseline filtering for IP and some DNS reputation, but then there will be an enhanced version that you can subscribe to. I think it's probably going to be around $50 to $60 a year. Then it will include enhanced ransomware blocking as well as content filtering with the categorizations that you're used to today. So that's going to be available. So again, thank you for staying around. Those who have been here, we have record of all of your names, how long you've been here. And so our marketing team will take that information and send an announcement out to our partner channel and to the webinar not only the attendee list, but everybody who registered. Those who have attended are going to be eligible for that $25 Amazon gift card. But we're going to send the information out to everybody so you guys will all know who won. And so good luck and thank you very much for being here. Hope that was helpful to you and that we could be on the same page. We look forward to seeing you at another webinar. Greg did ask when's the release date. It's somewhere May, June, I would say, is when the 60AX is going to be available. Thank you, Joe. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you at a future event or show or at another webinar coming up very soon. So the recording will be available in a couple hours if you want to share that with other folks within your team. Again, the more people who know about this, the more people can be informed. So look forward to seeing that new firmware available in the next 2 weeks. So hopefully you'll be prepared for that and be informed of that as well coming soon. So again, any questions, reach out to me. But thank you again. Have a great rest of your day and stay out of the sun and don't get sunburned, I guess. Have a good, great afternoon, rest of your day.